Hi everyone, Dr. Bookmark here, and I'm in my home reading studio. Welcome, glad to see you again. Tonight, in Summer Reading with Your Children, it's the fourth program in the series, and we're going to focus on writing, how to enjoy it, how to support it with your children. I'm very excited to have two educators and parents with me tonight to talk about that. We have Antonietta Bolame and Alice Levine. Welcome.
Thank you.
You know, I was at the Harvard Kent School the other day and with some young writers, first grade, second grade, third grade, and it was just amazing. They shared some writing with me, and they talked about doing it over the summer. But I think they needed some new ideas too. So, and their parents maybe also. And so we're going to take a look at them, and then we're going to get into a conversation about writing. Okay?
Sounds good.
Great. Hi, everybody. Dr. Bookmark here, and welcome to Supporting Writing Over the Summer. Now, I am surrounded today by some young writers at the Harvard Kent. I'm so happy. I'm so excited because I love writing too. Now, these writers are in first grade, they're in second grade, and they're in third grade, and they're awesome. They are awesome, epic writers. And I want to start off today by hearing a bit of your writing. Elsie.
The Mad Prince. Once upon a time there lived a prince. He was so mad because his parents would not let him go outside. What did you do over the weekend? I went to my cousin's house because he has a new pool, and to play with him. How I got a little pet shop. One day I was cleaning and my mom said I did such a good job I should get paid. Since then I get money for cleaning the living room.
Apple Circus. My favorite performance was the guy standing on the wire. He climbed a ladder and rode a unicycle on it. Man, I wish I could do that. It was my favorite part because who else can climb a ladder?
Today I was on my way to school when I found a magic wand. I decided I would share it with someone because I am nice, but What I learned and liked about energy class. I liked when we made water wheels on Energy Week 6. At first I didn't know how to do it. On the first day of energy class, we got raisins. They tasted very good. When we were collecting fossil fuels, which were red pieces of paper, Team 1 got the most.
Thank you, Jun Chen. Oh, you know, we've heard make-believe stories. We've heard stories so far about traveling somewhere on the weekend. And now we have writing that's informing us about science, learning about energy. Thank you for that report, okay? Now let's go to our last writer, last but not least, over here, Katie.
The night I threw the pizza on the roof, Mom got really mad. The night I threw pizza on the roof, Mom got really mad. She screamed at me and sent me to my room with no dinner. When I came out of my room, she was cleaning up the pizza, and Mom said to me, "Can you please help me?" So I helped her, and then I apologized to her.
Why do you think writing to you is so awesome, so important? Why do you like it so much? Zoe.
I like it because I get to express my feelings and I get to tell other people what I do and what I like to do.
So you have a sense of like what they call personal narrative. You're narrating what's going on in your life, and you find that to be important. Jun Chen.
I learned that when you read books, people could write about the book that you like, and reading books is just connected to writing.
This is such an important idea. I want everybody to listen to Jun Chen's idea. Reading and writing are connected. In fact, we know that the best writers are also great readers. In fact, the more you read, the the better you get at writing. And here you are in 3rd grade, and you already understand that concept. So this is, you know, it's very important, parents, that we write over the summer. Kids, it's very important that we continue to write over the summer. 2 things that go together very nicely. Reading books, writing about books, writing, writing, writing. Now, you don't need many things. Some paper and some pencils. If you have paper and pencils, you can be an author, you can be a creator of books. So I want to thank everybody. 1, 2, 3, I love to write! Thank you, boys and girls.
Weren't those young writers terrific?
That was
Wonderful.
great. I loved watching them.
You could see that they, even for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd graders, they had a deep sense of different types of writing, and they also, this whole idea of reading and writing being connected, and just the way they were able to express and feel good about all of that in their writing. Now, they're going to continue, but writers, they need ideas, and parents, they need ideas to help support young writers. So I know, Antonietta, that you are a senior director of research and instruction at the Office of Language Learners, and but you're also a mom.
Yes.
And we've talked, and I know that you have this. You're passionate about learning, very rigorous learning for kids. But as a mom, I know that probably plays in too. But what kinds of things have you done with your children?
Well, as a mother, you're also a teacher, but you don't need to be a teacher as the classroom teacher, because you can integrate writing in your daily activities. For example, with my daughter, when she was 3, she was a very active girl. And in order, for example, in the summer, for me to be able to do the things at home, like cleaning, setting up before we went out for shopping, I will ask her to be in charge of the grocery list. So her role, I would give her a role, and kids love to be important, to have a role and to have a task. So that will be the task for the day, and that means that she needed to do certain things, like, for example, go through the kitchen and figure out what things we didn't have and write them up on the list. But we did this through a conversation. So while I was cleaning or washing my hair, doing things, she would be running back and forth to the kitchen and where I was, and telling me whether she should add X, Y, or Z to the list. And then we'll talk about the word that she was adding, for example, rice or sugar. And since I come from a bilingual house, my family's from Chile, we speak Spanish and English all along, all day, I will use that moment to play with the words in Spanish and in English. So depending how motivated she was, she could say sugar in English, and then she will I will help her spell it out, or she will look at the letters, and then I will mention what's the word in Spanish and what will be the letters to write the word in Spanish. So that kept her busy for 30 minutes or so while I was able to get out, do the things around the house before we went out.
Well, moms would like to keep their children busy, but
Yes.
I think the other thing that what's really what I'm hearing is the functional aspect of writing, incorporating that right with a preschooler, that writing has a purpose, that we use it for real things, and the child begins to right away be incorporated into that, and also the beginning sounds and learning the different, the different, English and Spanish and beginning sounds and all of those things that you mentioned. So there's a little bit of reading, not reading instruction, but reading play.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we've been stressing, even at the Harvard Kent and with all the schools, is as you go into the summer, writing has to be playful. There has to be
Yes.
fun. No one wants to sit down and write. You want to have a good time. Alice, I know that you are the Family Education Coordinator from the Office of Family and Student Engagement.
Yeah.
And you've been working with parents in reading and writing clubs and over the years. And you also have a lot of good ideas for parents and young children for summertime writing. So what did you bring today?
Well, I brought a lot of things. I like to have things with me. So a friend of mine made this mailbox for us because I wanted to suggest that one way to make it fun in the summer is to try to turn your home into a writing household where everybody's writing. So it doesn't have to be this big. You can make your own out of a shoebox. There you can find directions online, I'm sure. But the idea would be that everybody in the family writes letters to each other or notes and sticks them in here in an envelope addressed if you want to do that. I remember how much we used to like drawing the stamps on the corner. Now, of course, these days people don't use snail mail as much, but I still think children, especially young children, really love to receive mail. And so you want to encourage everybody not just to write a short note, but write something that you were really impressed by about what the other person did in the family. You can write to your brothers or sisters or to your parents, put it in here, and then it's dinner time, and let's open up the mailbox, if this will in fact open. Yes, and we'll pull out the mail, and we'll see who's got mail today. So I think that would be a really fun project to do with kids over the summer. And just in general, I would suggest that parents and kids do a lot of note writing. I remember my mother years ago would write me a short note like, please put the potatoes up at 5:15 at 3:75. But I think you can write more meaningful notes as well. And I think kids would have a lot of fun leaving secret notes around the house for each other and for their parents. On the pillow, under the pillow, next to Dad's coffee in the morning. Anything that you want to tell somebody. Just like that little girl said, she loved to write because she got to express her feelings. That you want kids to get the idea that writing's about expression.
And right from the very start, kids have a natural impulse. They start scribbling, and the scribbling eventually turns into some letters, and the letters go into some words. Then they're always ready to mark up things, and to be able to incorporate this whole, this whole idea of getting a letter. I don't, even though it's snail mail, I know the children would love it. I still love to receive letters in the mail. I get bills, I would like a letter.
Yes.
So what other kinds of things, Alice, do you have?
Well, I think that with this whole letter and note writing idea, I know we've talked before about you can actually also encourage children to write to family members who are in different states or different countries. I would suggest not texting, because that's a shorthand. I'm not saying people shouldn't text. It has a practical purpose, but that's not the way children learn to write and really describe things in depth. So I would say email or regular letters to family members. Have you done that with your kids?
That's another thing I did with my daughter. Like, again, I needed to keep her busy because she talked a lot. So I will also give her like a role. Like I will say, okay, you're in charge of telling your grandparents what we did today, and we will mail the letter back to South America. So we will start during the day, and one example is when we went to buy the pumpkins in autumn, and we will get to the place, and I will ask her to count how many pumpkins there were.
Wow!
And that
kept her busy
that
for a
kept
while.
her busy because
You got some good ideas.
because that way, those are things that we needed to include in the letter.
Yeah.
So how many pumpkins were there? How large was the pumpkin that we purchased? And if we weighed it, she needed to remember how much it weighed so we can describe the pumpkins and how much it weighed. And I remember it was very cold, so I asked her what's the temperature of the day. So she needed to figure out, we had Fahrenheit here, but in Chile they have Celsius. So it was also an opportunity for me to explain, okay, it's Fahrenheit here, but in other countries they measure temperature in other ways. So
I hope she wasn't 3 years old still.
No, in this case she was already in first, second grade, but it was a way always to make the connection with the family that was away and how she can express her experience either in a way, knowing that the way her experience here could be read different, in Latin America. So I was always showing the back and forth of this traveling from one country, like conceptually.
Your kids had a real life reason to write, because they
Yes.
were trying to
Yes.
communicate with somebody who was
Yes.
far away.
And I think using both languages,
Yeah.
going back and forth. We've talked about in the program this summer about the importance of the home language, the native language, just the wonderful opportunity to be completely bilingual or multilingual. But the other thing that I'm hearing and what
Yeah.
you're saying is, it's not just writing, you're incorporating some math, you're incorporating just very simple. I mean, you're not teaching math
No,
again,
I'm not,
but how
no.
many pumpkins? What's it weigh?
Yeah.
What's the temperature? The sense of measurement, and yet as parents, we can do that without being, quote, teachers. I mean, it's
Exactly.
just, we do those types of things naturally. It's just incorporating your child.
Well, also, the other thing I loved about it is that when you were actually at the market or at the farm or whatever
Yeah.
getting the pumpkins, you were asking your daughter to concentrate on the details, to observe. And a good writer has to
Exactly.
observe
Excellent point.
details, has to use
Yes.
their senses. I know teachers emphasize that in the classroom, but you were doing that in a very interesting and natural way with your daughter.
So when we came home, she already had some facts
Right.
that she can talk about
Right.
and share about what we did during the day and how this experience could be different from what they do in Chile, for example. Yeah.
So I had another thought, which is a different kind of writing.
Yeah.
So you've talked about shopping lists, which are
Yes.
functional, and we've both talked about letters, which are communicative, and about this detailed, descriptive kind of writing. Another thing that I've found is that children and adults sometimes produce the strongest writing when they have strong opinions about things. So that's another thing, is that kind of persuasive writing. So probably everybody knows who this is, Mayor
There he is.
Menino. At least he's
Yeah.
still our mayor for
That's
now.
right.
And this is a editorial page from the Boston Globe with lots of letters to the editor in it. So these just remind me that if families are talking about anything that children have strong feelings about, or the family has strong feelings about, that's an opportunity to try to communicate your opinions in writing. So if you're driving down the street and your children say, wow, that's a cool playground, how come we don't have a playground like that in our neighborhood? You could say, maybe you should write to the mayor about that, or somebody on the city council. Or if you have older children and you're talking about what's happening with the Trayvon Martin case and selecting the trial, and you have an opinion about it, or your family does, write a letter to the editor. If you see an ad on TV or in the newspaper that your family finds offensive, write to the company. All of these are wonderful ways to get children to say, okay, I have an opinion, I have a thought, how am I going to express it strongly, clearly, and powerfully to communicate that idea to someone else?
Well, again, I mean, what's coming out in this conversation, it's a wonderful conversation, is the functionality of writing from the home, from and so therefore, like that persuasion is natural to us all.
Yeah.
We're always ready to debate something, so why not put it down in words? Why not, as a family, compose a letter, maybe together,
Right.
to this is how we feel.
Right.
And what a great feeling it would be to see a letter published and it's the family name.
Right.
It says
Absolutely.
by this family,
Right.
and it's in the paper, and that's going to again give children the idea that there's a purpose, there's an outlet, there's a place, and this is what writing really is. This is what we want to get across.
Plus, these days it's easier because you don't have to wait to see if the Boston Globe will publish it. You also have the opportunity to publish things online, to contribute to blog conversations and things
Right.
like that. So
And
families
we should not
could
forget, they can write to the President of the United
Yes,
States.
absolutely.
And they will get a response, and that's super exciting for kids. It's like unbelievable. Yes.
And so it becomes like a situation where when you do these things for a real purpose, it grows the impulse to keep writing and to keep making those connections between
Yeah.
writing and reading and sharing things together as a family.
Absolutely. Oh, and I was also thinking that in terms of the connection with writing and reading, there are also some sites where children can write book reviews and post them online. So there's just wonderful opportunities these days
Yes.
for kids to say, this is what I thought about this book, this is why I think other kids my age should read it, and then publish it online. Also, in terms of what you were saying about families writing together. So another idea I have is represented by this little tiny couch here that came from a colleague's daughter's dollhouse or something. But just representing that sitting in the living room together like we are, or sitting around a dining room table, you could establish Friday nights or Saturday evenings or whatever time works for your family as family writing time. And everybody in the family, grandma if she's there with you, and dad, and older teenage sister, and little brother who can't quite write full sentences yet, everybody's going to take the time to sit down and write. And you're all going to write for 20 minutes, and you can write whatever you want. You can write a song, you can write a poem, you can write a story, you can describe something you saw that day that you thought was interesting. You can write about a dream you had. Kids love writing about dreams. And then after the 20 minutes, okay, the buzzer goes off, time to share. And you can all share with each other the different things that everybody has written, adults and kids.
That is a terrific idea, and I think the whole notion of establishing a routine, we talked about that in reading. We're so busy. We need to have a time. We need to have a routine. Now, I want to share with you. I met the other day, and I don't meet that many New York Times best-selling authors, but I did meet Peter Reynolds, the author of The Dot and Ish and a number of other books for children, at his Fable Vision Studios, which are located at the Children's Museum. And Peter gave a few minutes to share some of his ideas from the author's point of view, what parents and kids could do together. And I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised because there's a lot about family.
Excellent.
So let's see what Peter Reynolds has to say.
Okay.
Excellent.
Hi everyone, Dr. Bookmark here, and I'm very, very excited today. I'm with Peter Reynolds at Fable Vision. Now, Fable Vision is a multimedia educational organization involved in, well, is art, movies, films, all kinds of things. And Peter is a New York Times best-selling author, an author, boys and girls, and illustrator, and lots of books, Dot, Ish, Sky Color, just very creative. So you can see the doctor's very excited. So Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to have you here at Fable Vision, which is, so the audience knows, if you know the Boston Children's Museum, which probably many of you have been to, and if you haven't, you should come here. We're on the very top floor of the Boston Children's Museum, looking out at Boston Harbor. Very inspirational place to be, to make books and positive media, and that's really our...
Talking about your mission and your books, you know, I love your books, I've been reading them, and I sense this whole sense, the mission is to unlock that potential in all learners, not just a few, all learners.
All learners, yeah.
And one of the things that you go on to say is that your hobbies, thinking and dreaming, and how did thinking and dreaming, how did that unlock your potential?
Thinking and dreaming. I have a twin brother, Paul, and as kids, we didn't really watch much TV. We did a lot of drawing and writing, and we used to have this game that we would play. It was called the squiggle game. I don't know if you know this game, but you make a squiggle on a piece of paper, just a quick little drawing, and then the other person makes a drawing, and then you trade. And so Paul and I you'd look at that squiggly line and say, what could that become? And we would spend hours and hours making, you'd see the squiggly line, you'd see a dragon, or you'd see a snake, or you'd see someone's face.
I guess this goes into something else that I was thinking about in terms of parents, like supporting and engaging their children, nurturing this idea to take some risks, nurturing the idea to see what happens when you set a word on a page or set a dot on a page. See what happens. What's your advice to parents to nurture that sense of feeling?
Yeah. Well, my biggest piece of advice is to show kids what creativity looks like. And so write a poem with your kids or for your kids. Make a drawing and stick it on the fridge and sign it proudly. A lot of parents think that they're the goal is to try to get their kids to draw or to write. It should be all of us writing and drawing together. So amaze your kids, surprise them with a drawing, with a poem, with a song. Show them what creativity looks like, and then also just make sure you have the tools handy. So if a kid has the inspiration to draw, have a piece of paper handy, even if it's scrap paper or cardboard. I see a lot of people throwing cardboard in the trash. I I actually cut my cardboard up and I use it as things to draw on. So I'm
Yeah, so
you might
you're-
see me rummaging in your trash.
The thing I want to talk a little bit about, just want to make a comment about, is I love this notion of the family doing it together. Not like it's time for you to write or it's time for you to read, but let's read together, let's create some art together. And how do then we accept each other's art and writing? The child brings me a piece, I look at it, how do I respond, Peter?
Right. Well, and you do have to be kind of careful because sometimes well-meaning comments can really crush somebody. I wrote a book called Ish, and in that story, this little boy Ramon loves to draw, and his brother Leon says something that's not very nice, at least to Ramon's ears, and he says, "What is that?" Well, that's a wrong response. It's a better thing to say is, "Tell me about your work."
Well, last question I have for you, Peter, and thanks so much for being on the show today. What's in your world this summer for parents and students?
Well, I have a children's book and toy store in Dedham, Massachusetts called the Blue Bunny. It's our family bookstore, and we also do workshops, and so we have art classes during the summer. But I also, I recommend that people just grab a book, share a book together, and also create your own book. In fact, one of my all-time favorite books I wanted to show you is this book, and it's actually got nothing in it. And people, sometimes they look at me like I've got two heads. It's like, well, why would a book with nothing in it be my favorite book? And it's because it's a place for your ideas and writing and art and stories to go in. And I love making books, but it's so much fun. I want you to have that fun too. So I'm encouraging everybody, kids, parents, teachers, make a book this summer. It's really fun to do.
This is fantastic. Families, kids, everyone out there, did you hear that? Make a book. Enjoy the process. I want to thank you again, Peter, for being on the show, and
It's a real pleasure.
we'll go from there. Well, parents, we're getting near the end of the show, and I want to thank the guests that came in, Antonita Bolome and Alice Levine, and I want to thank Peter Reynolds. You know, over the last 4 shows, we have had parents come in, talk about Read Aloud, shared their ideas. We've had librarians come in and talk about what's going on in the Boston Public Libraries and in the Boston Public School Libraries. We've had storytellers talking about talk and storytelling, and tonight we've had these great ideas about writing, all connected to reading, writing, listening, and speaking, what we call literacy. So I hope that you've enjoyed the programs. I hope that you have a fun-filled literacy summer. Enjoy your children, enjoy writing and reading, and thank you very much. drbookmark.com is the website. All the things that you've seen on the show will be posted there. And as I say goodbye, remember, you've got the fever, so keep reading. Thank you.